Okay, we're going to make sense of all of this new spreadsheet. I should make it a little bit bigger for you guys to read. Yeah, so I wouldn't pay attention to this top part. I'm going to show you this. And the way that I would suggest it's similar to is if you were to use like a flight sort of thing. They look at the different flights and they say, well, this one has one stop, so it's better. It's also cheaper, so a double whammy, better in that case. But it's like different legs on a really long flight. How does that make sense? Well, what we're trying to do is solve the question of we want to take, let's say, starting with 10,000 US dollars and get all the way to SPS. Well, there are a few, what would we say, airports, a few connecting flights in between, and uh, and you've got in my case, I'm using Bittrex as the exchange, but then there's other things like you could use. We're gonna talk about this. This website called Stealth is one of the possible connections, one of the airport connections. Stealth, or over here Binance, where we're kind of starting off. Here's one option. US dollars to, you change. We're going to try a couple different things. Then we already have we already know some things about, perhaps about uh, BSwap or Hive engine. BSwap is just another interface to the Hive engine. You could just as easily use like a tribal dex sort of thing. So there's a few stops along the way. So we have them here. We got Bittrex, we got the Stealth EX, we got another one. It's called Binance Bridge. And that's just one little thing that it can do that's interesting. Binance or Bitcoin to Bitcoin on the Binance Smart Chain. We also have Pancake Swap, which I'm going to show the best interface the one that I appreciate the most is called 1inch. So we're just going to show you that there's multiple ways to get from something like US dollars to SPS, which is the Splinterland currency, Splinter shards. And there's been a few people asking me, well, I want to get a bunch of these. And it's actually 10,000 has come up a couple of times. Good job on them being able to do that amount. So I'm trying to show them how can be answered in a couple of different ways, and using a little bit of time. If you're going to be spending this amount of money, then you want to make sure you're doing the best route possible. Um, and how long each layover, to use that analogy again, how long does it take? For example, when you start off on something like Bittrex and you transfer from your bank, you set it all up so you can transfer from your bank. Well, if you use the banking method called ACH, it's free, but it takes like a couple of days, sometimes 3, sometimes 10, 5 days, sometimes more. I feel like when I go from my bank to Bittrex, it takes 2 days, and then they put a 10-day kind of stop on it. Now, you may decide to use something like Coinbase, and you'll have to figure out what their layover is. But if you were to do a wire, I think it's a lot less. It just takes 1 day to get from the bank to Bittrex, and then Bittrex doesn't put a hold on those funds anytime too soon. So actually, this may be more like 9 to 11 days. It's just kind of like unknown. I don't really know for sure how long this takes. Maybe it's 10 days. I'm just not sure. But I do know that my bank, if I were to use my bank, well, I have one bank that they would do a wire for free, which they're awesome. But that's not where my money is. So if it were me, I'd have to use a bank, and my bank would charge me $30. So then we're dealing with 9970. But there is something about the having to wait 10 days if you want to get something. That's kind of sucky. So let's just go with the 9970. So we leave the airport on a flight, and it takes 1 day. Well, we get the 1 day layover, whatever we want to call it. We end up with 9970. So in the next leg of this, we have 9970 and we can go 3 different airports, right? We've got Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Hive. I just wanted to show. So each time, I'm going to go over here. Let's start with Bitcoin because I'm sure most of you are more familiar with what that is. Let's let it load up here. So let's put in, and you want to go to market. So you want to buy 9970 worth of Bitcoin. And this is the number that they'll give you right here. So we're just going to copy that number. So we see that they're going to charge us $24.86, which is, that's a lot better. So let's do 25. Is that what it was? These other ones should be 25. Okay. So we're going to copy and paste that in there, just the value. Oh, why did it do that? Let me go back to it. Make sure we got the 0 in there. The 0 is very important. And it goes so fast that sometimes it's hard to copy that. All right. So we're going to put that in there. Just copy the value. Okay. Now, up top, as you can see, I'm putting in the value of different things. So now these values change all the time. 65701 is the new value of Bitcoin. 65701. This is just to help me do all these comparisons, right? So there was a $25 fee, and then there was some loss, of course. So that's why, well, no, actually, look at 9970 minus 25. Is that roughly the right cost here? So let's put this at minus this. Yeah, look, okay. So there's a $25 fee, and we're ending up with 9945 worth of Bitcoin because Bittrex, their airport tax. So if we are using the analogy, the bank has an airport tax, a fee of 30, and then Bittrex side, they're going to take 25, of course. So then we end up with this, and then I've already said, okay, well, there's a couple of, what's the next method? Well, we could go to this airport or we could go to this airport. Okay, so let's go to the Stealth airport. And we're going to go from Stealth Airport, BTC, to one of 3 options. Okay, so we're going to go directly to SPS and say, hey, look, we just want less layovers, of course. So we're going to take this number, and we're going to go over to Stealth, and we're going to type in SPS. Can they take us directly from Bitcoin to SPS? And there's the answer. So we're going to grab this, and then this would be the short flight, of course. The short, like the lesser amount of layovers. So we're going to put that in there, and that's the end result is 17,865. Okay. So that's one way to get to the end. But if we, but we know that there's some other better ways to get there. Well, cheaper ways. This is the fast way, in my opinion. You would using Stealth makes it pretty fast, and you're done. So you've got bank to Bittrex, Bittrex to BTC, and BTC to final destination. Now, just so you know that when you leave Bittrex, they have an airport tax of 0.003, so 0.0003 Bitcoin, which if we times 0.0003 times the price of Bitcoin, it's a $19 departure tax, apparently. So, that's a big deal. So we have to actually use this number right here instead of this number. So sorry, that is a big deal. So we got to take that number, and then we'll take this, and this is the final destination. There we go, 17831, and it's going up and down all the time. So, and that transaction right there, so this layover is 1 day, which isn't bad. Now when you do a trade, that's like 1 second plus the time to get it ready, so maybe 1 minute at the most. But when you do this one, it's like a 30-minute flight or so. It's kind of, well, layover, 30-minute layover, because Bitcoin transactions take like 30 minutes. Okay, so that's one final method, but let's see what would it be like to, instead of using stealth, we go to Binance Bridge. So Binance Bridge, let me pause and I'll show you that. Okay, so I just typed in Binance Bridge and it goes here, but you can't use it. You have to have a VPN if you want to use it. So I'm not going to be able to use it, and it takes 30 minutes. We're not going to do that. We're not going to connect the wallet or anything right now, but we're going to start with Bitcoin. So if we had Bitcoin on Bittrex, we would transfer it out, which Bittrex has a fee on that, and then we would go to from the Bitcoin network to the Binance Smart Chain network. So if we did, oops, not that amount. Let's go over here, and let's take this amount, because Bittrex is going to take a little bit. So then we would do this, and you will receive the exact same amount. So that's nice. That's a great thing. But you have to send it to them, and Bittrex will charge a fee to send. So let's go back. So this, we'll start with this on Bittrex, and then they'll take their fee, and this is what we'll send to them, and this is the result. So actually quite good. And then we'll have Bitcoin on the Binance Smart Chain. So let me just make sure that this is apparent. This is on Binance Smart Chain. So if we now have BTCB, so BTC on the Binance Smart Chain, BTCB is what some people call it, or WBTC. Then, let me go back to it. I'm switching back and forth, so stick with me. So then, in this method, going straight to Stealth EX and having it send SPS directly to a Binance Smart Chain wallet of yours, you're going to end up with 17,831. But what if we took this same amount of Bitcoin and went to this bridge? So this we did one extra leg of the journey. So now we're going to take this amount. So we're going to grab this, and this airport is on 1 inch, and this is what it's saying. There's a 0.5% drop. There's a little bit of a $3 transaction fee, and with all that said and done, that's a cost on top of it, by the way. When that's all said and done, it's going to be that amount. So now you have to ask yourself, do you want to end up with 17,830 or 18,150? With quick math, I'm guessing that is 320 SPS of difference, or roughly $160 cheaper to do this. To add one leg to the journey will save you like $160, okay? And that's this leg of the journey, of course. So I guess that's a question up to you. Also, this is now $3 a cost. So, but there could be other options, and at any given time, some of this stuff can change, which makes it complicated. I understand. Now, what if we went into, instead of with your US dollars, you buy Litecoin, because Litecoin has so much cheaper of a fee over here, right? $2 fee instead of a $19 fee. So we go to the Litecoin airport so that we can use this over here, you know? So let me give you an example. We already figured out, well, let's do it again. Let's take Litecoin, go to the Litecoin airport and let it load. So we're going to buy 9970 worth of Litecoin. So we're going to grab this number right here. Come on, don't change on me so fast. It's changing so fast. Let's just type it in, 43853. So 43853. Okay, and so then it pulls it over here, and I already know that the fee is 0.01, which is $2.26. Okay, so we're going to take this amount, and we're using the Stealth airport here. So this fee is going to be so much cheaper, but what is that really going to amount to in SPS? So let's type, we've got it now. Let's put it over here. Okay. There we go. So if you go to the Bitcoin airport, even though that the fee is $19 versus $2, you're still going to end up with, just quick math, that looks like about 50 SPS more, even by doing Bitcoin. But Litecoin is faster, so you'll have a shorter layover. So that depends, you know, you're booking flights, you think of these things as well. Okay. Now, what if we decide we want to, what's the next option? What about Hive? What if we want to go to the Hive engine airport? Well, we need to go USD to Hive. Okay. So let's go give that a shot. And let's type in Hive over here in Bittrex. And let's go to the market price and let us, okay. So they're going to give us 11,653. Now, this number is what you want to pay attention to. This is kind of like the, this is like a surcharge. So we got the 24 fee. That's the same on everyone, but this is a big deal. I don't know if you noticed it on the on Bitcoin and Litecoin, but I do have them marked down. They were 0.01 and 0.08, I believe. And on this one, we're looking at 10% now. 10%. So it is a lot different. So we've got this new number here. So now we have Hive, we can transfer it and get it over into Hive Engine, okay? So it's taking this number and moving it over to here. And then Hive Engine, to get it to swap Hive, is 1% fee. So now we have this amount. And then if you trade it over into, well, I'll show you. So we're going to take this amount of now swap Hive, okay? We're going to put it into here. I tend to like BSwap over Tribal Dex, just personal preference. And this is the number of SPS. So we've got a route here, and the end destination is 17,098. So technically, this one beats it, this one beats it. But if you were able, now here's the deal, if you were able to get Hive at its present price, because Bittrex is dropping it. Now, if you were to take yeah, so Bittrex. So if you were able to buy Hive with BTC, so this is this one. If you bought Hive and then grabbed, or if you bought Bitcoin and then grabbed Hive with it, you would end up with this amount of Hive. So buying Hive directly from Bittrex isn't good at the $10,000 mark. And let me just show you why. It's not always this way, so you do want to check. So for example here, there's no one willing to buy your, or to sell you Hive at a good price until you get to like 83 cents. And that in that case, there's only $4,600 worth of them, or maybe 5,000, I guess, with these ones. And we're wanting to buy 10,000. So look where you have to go, 88 cents just to get to that prices. So a 10% increase. Okay, look at where the price would be to get the 10,000. It is way above here. So it's just there's not, what we would call this is there's not a lot of liquidity. There's not a lot of availability on Bittrex, but there probably is on other places. For example, if you happen to use, we'll click on Hive here on CoinGecko, and we'll look at different markets, Bittrex being one of them. So Bittrex is down here. Look at how much volume is 67,000 versus 2.2 million. So 2% depth is another thing to look at. There is not much here at 2% depth. But it actually, if you were to go to Gate.io, you'd have a lot of depth available to you. So that's probably the best option here. So even if their volume isn't very much, pretty impressive. As far as I know, I don't really use Gate.io, but it is available for US customers. But how do you get money from your bank over to Gate.io? I don't know. I haven't used it. And Binance.com is not available to US customers. So if you start with something like Bitcoin or USDT or something like that, then some of these other options are much better than Bittrex, which has such low depth here. So, all right, that's where we're at. So, just keep an eye on this. If you're using Bittrex like me, then you look over here on this red side here and see if there's much depth here to be able to handle your 10,000, or just type in your 9970 and see what it goes to. 85 cents. Well, it says 81 cents over here, so it went up quite a bit, over 10%. All right, so let's get back to the spreadsheet. So we know that in the analogy, we could just say that this right here that's like, hey, don't travel through this airport right now. It is under construction. We're waiting for more materials to build. So don't use that one at the moment. But maybe it will open up here in, I don't know, could even be like 5 minutes from now. Like all of a sudden, there's a ton of building material. And then if it was really good, let's say it was the price of whatever we put here, 8199, then we would get this amount of Hive. Then there would be the fee from Hive Engine. And then we would use Hive Engine to the swap, and we'd end up with 17,811. So that is pretty darn good comparatively, right? Actually, let's type it in. Let's just make sure this is all very current, because we did not make that current. So here's our newest number, but there's a 2.6 price drop on there. So that's not amazing. I put it down here, 2.6, but let's put that in there, 17,898. So that is technically the cheapest method, but you would have to find Hive for all 10,000 of your Hive tokens being sold to you at 8199. So that's hard to do, or you can wait for it to go up. Or one option is to put in 8199 here and say you want 10,000 quantity at 8199. So what you would do is put in 8199. So you go up in price. You're like, hey, look, I'm willing to buy all the way up to this price. And you want to get 9970 of it. So there you go. 12129. Does that make sense? 12160. So actually we need to change that to 12129. And then we grab this number because we had that, we're starting with the assumption that we did a wire that took $30. Okay. So then this is the final amount. So technically, this one still beats it out, but does it still beat it out? And this is important. We would have to, like, we've taken what now, 10, 20 minutes. All these numbers could be different. And now you have to go back and go, okay, well, what was, is it still the same Bitcoin? Let's go back. The market here, we type in 9970, and now it's 15058. Okay, so it went down. 15058. Okay, so now it goes to here, then there's a fee, and so then we grab this number right here. We put it over, change this to Bitcoin, and we put in a new number, and here is our updated number. And we'll go put it over here, and it went down. So now technically 17767, 17797. So it's kind of funny how it changes. Well, it's hard. I understand it's not necessarily just funny. It's hard because it changes so quickly. But we did show that if we did this other kind of layover and did this Binance bridge, used a VPN, so you'd have to have a VPN. So it's like having a clear pass at the airport where you get special access. I don't know if the analogy works for that. But you get special access, you use a VPN, and then you get to be able to trade your Bitcoin for Bitcoin on the Binance Smart Chain, which gives you basically a pass to use your Bitcoin on a site like 1inch. Okay, so now we're going to use this number over on 1inch to see how it's changed. So it's going to go directly to SPS. We already know that that number is way higher. So let's type, put it in. So 18093. So then this method or this method, it is way better. So 18093. But that's an extra leg of your journey, and you have to have a certain ability to do it to be able to use Binance Bridge. You have to have a VPN and be outside of the country. They just don't want any US traffic on this site. So that's what you would do. And you trust them, and they're pretty, I've not heard of any missed flights where you pay for the flight and don't get the flight. I guess you get this. This is, they do a good job, and you would transfer to them and you'd research how to take that flight, I suppose. This isn't what the video is about on how to use those. I've done videos. You'd have to go back in my my YouTube and check to see. I think I've shown how to use the Binance Bridge in the past. It's been a long time ago, but there's plenty of other people that do it as well. But there is that Bittrex cost of sending out Bitcoin, and that is like $19, and it's 0.0003 Bitcoin, which is $19 fee. But even with that big fee right here, $19, it's still going to end up being pretty great. And now there is another maybe $3 fee here or something like that. But You just have to make sure that your Binance Smart Chain is all set up to use this one. Now, if you don't have this set up, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have Binance Smart Chain sort of set up, you can't even use this one, because this flight from Stealth, just so you know, is, I believe, SPS should be on the Binance Smart Chain. So let's go to Start Exchange SPS address. So it says only Binance Smart Chain network coins are available for withdrawal. So you have to put your Binance Smart Chain code in there. So if you don't know how to do that or are unwilling to learn how to set up Binance Smart Chain using like a MetaMask, then you can't take a Stealth, like you can't take this flight. So you would have to do something like US dollars to Hive and then start using the Hive engine airport. And maybe you just wait until it's not 10% anymore. And you just go from Bittrex to Hive engine, pay the 1% fee. Also, you may want to check BSwap, because there is, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, there is sometimes liquidity in Swap Hive, but right now there is none. There is no liquidity here. So there's available liquidity 0.01 Hive. So that's basically nothing. So and their fee is 0.25, which is 4 times better than this at 1%. Okay, so you're going to have to take the little bit more expensive, well, 4 times more expensive flight. And you would take your Hive and go to SPS. And then you would get something more along the lines of 17,098 if you were to do it right now. So, I mean, let's take it. Let's see what it is. So we go to swap and we do Hive to SPS and put this in here, 17091, which is, yeah, pretty close, 17098. So it went down a little bit. So it's up to you. That is a 1,000 SPS difference, $560 more expensive flight. But maybe you're okay with it because this requires you setting up some stuff and learning some stuff. All of this, like Stealth and Binance and Pancake, all that stuff requires learning more things. But when you know those things, then you have the ability to pay $1,000 less on your flight, or $560 less on your flight, or 1,000 SPS less on your flight. So that's up to you. So it would be really cool if you could just type in, like, this is what I got. This is my starting airport, Bittrex, and you said, yeah, this is my starting currency, dollars, and this is my starting airport, and this is where I want it to end up in my Splinterland wallet. Please tell me the fastest, the most convenient, or the cheapest. So all 3 things are important, like the speed, the convenience, the number of legs, the number of layovers, and the price. All those things would be there and you could make that decision. So it would be cool if there was a website like that, but there's not. What I do have is a spreadsheet and then some bit of time to go in and figure it out. So if at this exact moment, but we know that airport prices, like travel prices go up and down, that sort of thing. At this exact moment, we can look at all these green numbers and go, huh, this is the best one. This is the best one, and it's a it's how many legs of the journey. Bank to Bittrex 1, Bittrex to BTC 2, BTC, we're skipping over this one, BTC to BTCB 3, BTCB to SPS 4, and then technically you would want it over into your Splinterland's wallet. So you would move it using Splinterlands. It's pretty easy on Splinterlands, but something you have to learn. And you go from there to your Splinterlands wallet. So five legs of the journey. And no one's necessarily going to do it for you, which is, like, it'd be scary if they're doing it for you, because then you're trusting someone with 10,000 of your dollars and you don't know who they are and you have no recourse, I guess. So you doing it yourself can sometimes be better, but that's what Stealth kind of does for you. They're actually stealthex.io. They're taking your what do you want? What do you want to get? And they're going to go inside this journey. They're probably doing a couple of things. And then they get over to SPS and will send it to you. But they're not sending it directly to your Splinterlands wallet. So they're missing that part of the journey. And they're not taking US dollars from your bank. So they're missing that part of the journey. So they'll do a couple parts for you, but it still can be complicated. But I hope that the analogy of a flight really helps. And this would be somewhat similar of the DEC as well, in the DEC world as well. There's one thing I wanted to show why it's so much cheaper to use the Binance Smart Chain, and this is the reason why. There is a lot of available SPS. So look here, there's 7 million SPS in this pool. 7 million SPS in this pool. So doing a big transaction like $10,000 doesn't impact this pool as much. If you wanted to look by example here, we're going to type in SPS, Hive to SPS, there is only 700,000 SPS. So that's 10 times less SPS in this pool. So that's why doing that transaction changed it by 2.5%. 2.5%, 2.6%, something along that line. There was a big impact in the price. Huge impact in the price. So that's why, again, going back here, with 10 times more SPS in this pool, there's less impact in the price. And that's why going this method can save you like 2%, like these 2.5% fees, as opposed to a 0.48%. So you're saving 2%. So that's pretty darn good. 2% of $10,000 is, what is that, $500? No, what is it? $200 at least? Yeah, something along those lines. And there you go. Oh, and then we had the 10% here. That's why I'm seeing it. So 2%. So this is a 2% difference, and this is a 10% difference. So you've got a total of 12%. So if you were to go this method versus this method, it's 12%. So that's why we have a $1,000 difference. Now, if you could get your Hive at a very good price, then it's pretty decent here, because then you could, if you could buy from Bittrex 10,000, someone was selling $10,000 worth at a good price, you could buy from Bittrex, move it over, and pay only the 1%, and then you would be here at almost 17,800. So just maybe $200, $300 SPS difference, maybe $150 difference. And a lot of that has to do with the 1% fee. So if you could even use the B swap at 0.25, then it gets even better. So I hope that explains all the complexity that goes along there. In the future, someday, like, all this back-end stuff has to exist. And then in the future, someone will create a really simple interface to tell you what's going on, or maybe you will trust them, and boom, They'll do everything and send it to your wallet, straight to your Splinterlands wallet, perhaps. But then they have to deal with all the tax implications and all the government regulations, and no one wants to do that. So that's perhaps why it doesn't exist, or there's not enough customers for them to create something like that. There's you, but is there enough for them to do it? Maybe you're willing to pay 50, 60 bucks to do that. But is there hundreds of other people to do that? Maybe not. So that's why it's up to you. All right. So, but if you're watching this right away, that's one of the best methods to do. But that's not going to stay the best method. It could change. But in general, it probably will be more often the best method because of how many SPS are on the Binance Smart Chain to be able to do that swap. So in general, that's one of the best things to do. So there is another, I'm just adding on to this just to make it crazier. So you could, yeah, no, actually that is it. Yeah, that's all I can, that's the methods that I could think of. There may be other airports to stop in and other legs of the journey to consider, but I can't think of them. And that's why you have computers to go and check a bunch of them. Well, there'd be someone to program them in, and then it would know to check them all and say, bloop, 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 bloop. Here is the end result, 18093. And these other flights are, you don't get as much. So don't use those. Or you could use, you're starting at a different bank. That's fine, because you end up at Bitcoin or at Bitcoin on the Binance Smart Chain. So, and then you start the flight there, If you don't have to use this and you're just like, no, I'm going to meet you at this airport, then you're good to go. So if you just have Bitcoin, like say someone out there, and one person that did ask said they have Bitcoin. So $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, which is more than this. And then what they should do is go to this airport, the Binance Bridge Airport, and now they'll have BTCB, and they'll just swap it, BTCB to SPS. Now, if they had BNB to SPS, it's probably going to be even a little bit better. I'll show you. I'll show you this. So that says 9928. So let's change it to 1, 2, no, 1, 3. So, okay, so now we have just about $10,000 worth. That's 18,146, okay? 18,146. Let's put it over here. What if you had the same amount in Binance? Sorry, let's go here. And this was a $2 transaction cost, okay? So let's do BNB, which is another token. And let's do 50, 30, nope, 15, 11, 13, 14, 15.5. Hey, we're getting close. 15.4. Oh, 0.5, 2.5. Yeah, somewhere around there. We would end up with 18,249. How about we do 4, 5? Yeah, there we go. And the transaction cost is only $1, and you get 50 more. Because yeah, so it's just, I just happen to know this. So if there was some computer that could calculate it all, it's like, well, the best method is to get to BNB, but getting BNB is more expensive here or there, and blah blah blah. So with a $2 cost versus a $1 cost. Okay, I hope, I didn't want to make it too simple because too simple means that you don't have all the answers to be able to solve your problems in the future. And you are now educated to be able to help other people. That's kind of what my YouTube's about. It's not about not about teaching one person. It's about teaching the people that are going to teach other people, um, and do better videos than me, to be honest. So, hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.